Well, no, it's funny. I am embarrassed to say this, but I remember looking at that sheet myself and
Oh,
thinking, "Oh,
really?
thank goodness I'm essential, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to work." Right?
I know, but the terms are a little bit funny because essential in those days meant
It meant I'm not subject to the restrictions at the level
exactly
that others are, and I
right.
was very happy.
But it became very strange because you had a whole class of people that were running around delivering groceries to the other class of people that are sitting around in their pajamas watching Netflix. So, and this went on for a very long time, and I'm sorry if I've told this too many times, but I mean, the New York Times, every day you could look up the New York Times and find out what you were supposed to be doing in light of the presence of the virus in your community. And you could type in your zip code, and then pop, up would come at instructions. And one of the instructions was always, during the height of the pandemic, you should not travel, you should stay home, and you should have your groceries delivered to you.
Yeah, this is, Dr. Jay Bhattacharya's trickle-down epidemiology, what he calls trickle-down epidemiology.
Yeah, I mean, the New York Times never told anybody to deliver groceries to anybody else, and they didn't do that because they know that's not their readership. They wanted you to stay home and stay well, while we used the workers and peasants as sandbags to absorb the virus for us, to bear the primary burden of herd immunity. I mean, it was a grim creation of a caste system that became very obvious by the time the restaurants actually opened, and you suddenly find yourself wining and dining with your friends without masks on while being served by faceless people. That's not the kind of country we live in. A commercial culture. A vibrant commercial culture is about all of us serving each other as equals. And we know this, the waiter comes up, hey, I'm Jim, how y'all doing today? Hey, it's great to see you, Jim. What's good tonight? Well, I think I can like the veal parmesan. Really, you like that? That's okay, let's go do something. And your colleagues, your friends, there's not a barrier separating you. There's not a caste. You don't have servers and served, and so the pandemic response really did create a kind of a caste system that, of course, got worse, and culminated in the vaccine mandates, which I tell you, I just cannot believe it, Jan. It's such a scandal to me that New York City would have created these mandates that barred the unvaccinated from public accommodations, meaning restaurants, museums, libraries, theaters, barred them. One click over the tab on the spreadsheet, who was unvaccinated? What is the primary demographics of the unvaccinated? For decades, we've worried about the disparate impact of policies. Rightly so. Came to those mandates. Nobody cared. I think I read one article about this problem, and it was in your newspaper. That's a scandal to me. We've been fighting racial segregation in this country for the better part of 80 years. And then in one day the next, we imposed it in the three greatest cities in this country. New York, Boston, Washington, D.C. Unbelievable. Where's the outrage? Where's the concern? Where's the awareness? Do people even know? Do people care? I don't understand. I think it's proof of how the lockdowns just blunted our moral consciences. It took away our natural sense of right and wrong, settled expectations about what kind of people we are and what we're willing to do to each other. That's a very delicate thing that every society needs that. It's not something we arrive at rationally necessarily or even consciously. It's something that we absorb into our daily sense by virtue of the routines, the lived routines, how to get along with others, how to treat others with respect, how to have a default position where every person we meet, we aspire to treat them with dignity and expect them to treat us the same way. And that sense is fragile, it's delicate, it's beautiful, and it's born of stability, of fulfilled expectations about a kind of a liturgy of life, a routine, of rituals that we go through where we're always affirmed, if I treat others well, then they will treat me well. And the whole society gets imbued with this sense. And if then one day there's some switch turned where what is wrong is now law, where the things we once thought were morally egregious are now required, where you're typecast in a certain class or a caste, we're not enabled or entitled to do something normal like travel across the state lines to go to a job, or if you go to your father's funeral in Texas, even though you live in Oklahoma or whatever. I mean, when you can't visit your mother in the hospital, you know?
We live in an era of censorship and disinformation, and it can be really hard to know what's true and what's false in this information climate. To get honest information and insights you can trust, join us on Epoch TV. You can sign up for your 14-day free trial at ept.ms/freetrialjan. That's ept.ms/freetrialjan.
When things like this happen to you, when your child can't go to school, when you can't work because you have to stay home with your child, when these things happen to you and so much of life is just fundamentally shattered, or to use another term, reset, it's hard to put back together again. And I think we're seeing the cost of this. You asked about crime earlier. It's related. You know, crime, the prevalence of crime in a community is not just about police. It's also about our sense of right and wrong. You know? What's doable, what's not doable? What does our conscience tell us? And if there's a sense in a community that's taking things is not a good thing to do, you're not going to have a lot of theft. But when the public sector engages in these kinds of egregious policies that just violate everything we thought was right, everything we thought was true, everything we thought was possible, you unleash all kinds of terrible things. In many communities in America today, and it's terrible to say, the expectation is that you can steal whatever you want as long as it doesn't exceed $1,000. And petty theft is going crazy in this country right now. And I just have to believe, and I'm not a philosopher, but I think it's related.
Well, okay, and so that's very interesting. You said the word reset. Well, because you know, we know that you know, Klaus Schwab of the World Economic Forum has written a book about how to use COVID-19 to effect a great reset, so to speak. You know, we hear about the, you know, fourth industrial revolution.
That's weird.
And I guess the question is, you know, you said the word. How much do you see this actually being a kind of intentional reset of sorts?
I don't know the answer to that question because, you know, you can be Darth Vader or you can put on a costume as Darth Vader. You know, and so maybe that's who's this guy, Klaus something. Maybe that's who he is. Maybe he's just a pretend kind of guy. I'm the man who manufactured the inflation to give everybody short-term time preferences and get you on subscription models on digital media. And we're going to get rid of fossil fuels and make you buy all electric cars and abolish your cities and make you move out into the countryside. Which is kind of, you know, the kind of nonsense that this ridiculous book on Amazon says. And it just so happens that the World Economic Forum includes, I don't know, hundreds of the world's most powerful people as top fellows. There is that too. So I don't think it's as innocuous as a Darth Vader Halloween costume, but I just don't know. John, you're asking the question, which is why.